Good evening and welcome to Nashville. I'm Alan Jackson. History teaches us that nations rarely lose their identity all at once. The greatest changes often begin with ideas that gradually reshape how people think about freedom, government, and the future that they want to leave the next generation. Well, for nearly 250 years, the United States has been remarkably different. While governments around the world have risen and fallen, America has endured under the same Constitution our founding fathers carefully crafted. They created a constitutional republic with checks and balances. History has reinforced that wisdom. Yet today, ideas once dismissed as politically impossible, well, they're gaining a new momentum here in America. Socialism is no longer simply a chapter in a history book. It's becoming a growing force in American politics. The election of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani thrust the Democratic Socialists of America into the national spotlight. Since then, the movement has continued to build momentum, with DSA-backed candidates defeating longtime Democratic incumbents. Well, following those victories, the organization declared that, quote, only socialism can solve decades of capitalistic mismanagement in the United States. The Democratic Socialist of America has now released one of the most sweeping political platforms in its history, calling for the abolition of the United States Senate, replacing both the presidency and the Supreme Court with institutions chosen by Congress, granting sweeping amnesty for all individuals who are here in the country illegally, and replacing America's constitutional framework with what it calls a new democratic constitution. What exactly are we watching unfold? Why are ideas rooted in socialism gaining momentum after decades of failure around the world? Why do younger generations seem increasingly open to systems previous generations fought to defeat? Well, our experiences together since the start of this decade have been very insightful and very different than any previous experiences we've had. We faced a pandemic, and China, the country where it originated, hid the facts from the world. They denied it and did their best to cover it up. Billions of lives were affected around the earth due to the virus and the mandated measures taken to stop the spread. And China never suffered any true consequences for the devastation they unleashed. In Russia today, citizens can face torture in prison, including beatings, electric shocks, suffocation, just for publicly disagreeing with government policy. In China, churches are monitored, pastors detained, and only state-approved religion is allowed. We're seeing the ideologies found in these adversarial nations, communism, socialism, Marxism, well, they're taking root in major cities now in our nation. Communism is not just another economic system. It's one of the most destructive, murderous expressions of human authority in history. And the people who advocate for socialism and communism today in our nation, in our biggest cities, they have to deny history to do so. And truthfully, it's only our profound ignorance that gives them a place in the public square. In the primary elections held during the 2026 cycle so far, candidates endorsed by the Democratic Socialist of America, they have scored at least 38 primary victories, frequently unseating entrenched incumbents. Around 90 candidates endorsed by the Democratic Socialist of America will appear on ballots nationwide later this November. Leaders who openly campaign on a platform that is contrary to Christian values should be a very loud wake-up call. Elections reveal our spiritual health. The people elected don't make us more or less healthy. They reveal our spiritual condition. I'm of the opinion that an election is like when you go to the doctor for a physical and they do your blood work. If they come back and they say your cholesterol is a bit too high, the lab report itself doesn't make you unhealthy. The blood work is an indicator of your overall physical health. The condition of your health dictates the blood report. Well, I believe an election is an indicator of our spiritual health. And when we see that we're electing in a broad way people who have platforms in opposition to a biblical worldview, it should be a warning light to all of us that the spiritual condition of our nation is deteriorating, and it should matter to us. Now, I think what we're finding out is that we're not as healthy as we wanted to believe we were. I don't believe the problems we face are because of the depravity of the wicked. I think the fundamental problem we have is the ambivalence of the faithful. Simply put, we've got to decide we're going to seek God first. That's repeated throughout the Hebrew Bible and right through the New Testament. We have rather ignorantly wanted our favorite political leaders to fix all of our problems while we continue on our own carnal paths. I pray that we will answer the call and begin to seek God with a renewed enthusiasm. We must bring our biblical values into the public square. We should be evangelist advocates for Jesus. We should be sharing our faith at the ball fields with our families. Stop excusing ungodliness and confront the folks you know with the truth of the gospel. If our nation really is to ever regain strength, it will be because the church has the courage to bring our biblical worldview back into play. Well, in a moment, we're going to be joined by the political director in the Reagan White House, Jeffrey Lord, right after this short break. I'll be right back.
This year, we celebrate 250 years of God's faithfulness to our nation. From backyard picnics and ball games to laughter shared with family and friends, we've been given so many blessings to enjoy together. And in a world that feels increasingly divided, these moments remind us of what matters most: faith, freedom, family, and community. Alan Jackson Ministries wants to help you carry that message with you wherever you may go. This outdoor blanket and canvas tote bag are simple reminders of God's goodness and a way to spark meaningful conversations about faith and the hope we have in Him. Request your limited edition tote bag and outdoor blanket today with your gift of $100 or more at alanjackson.com or call 800-880-5102.
Tonight, we're joined by Jeffrey Lord, political director from the Reagan White House. Welcome back to the show, Jeffrey.
Good to be here, Alan. Good to be here.
We lost Senator Lindsey Graham unexpectedly over the weekend. He was known as one of the great senators of our time, a senator's senator, we're told. What effect will that loss have on the Senate as they move forward?
Well, the Senate, being the institution that it is, will adjust. I had met Senator Graham several times. He was just a wonderful, delightful guy, but more than that, he was a thoroughly knowledgeable guy. As you said, he was a senator's senator. And having worked in the Senate myself in the long ago for Pennsylvania's Senator John Hines, I learned then what an institution this is. It is, in fact, a club. And the members really do take care of themselves and each other. And there is no question that his colleagues had immense respect for Lindsey, and with reason.
Well, we're witnessing something I never thought I would see. The Democratic Socialists of America are making quite an impact in our nation. Their co-chair recently made some public statements. Watch a bit of that, and then I have a question.
We do believe that government should be proportional to the population, and that's a very basic core principle. So the House of Representatives is more democratic that way, and we just don't see the point of the Senate. Historically, it was meant to serve very wealthy people who owned a lot of land, and that's still a system that we have today, and it's something we would change. We would expand what the House of Representatives does, and make it more actually representative of people who live in this country.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
Okay, so the DSA has made public their policy platforms, and they include ideas like eliminating the U.S. Senate, granting amnesty to all illegal aliens, defunding the Department of Defense, replacing the president and the Supreme Court. I mean, it's an almost unbelievable list. What's your recommended strategy for dismantling this movement that threatens to destroy the country as we know it?
Well, I hate to say it, but I think it's time for a re-education, if you will. The problem here, and I guess it's an ancient human problem, is that one generation learns X, and then they go to pass down that learning experience, and the generation down below doesn't get it, and they've got to make the same mistakes all over again. And I have over here in my library a really considerably huge volume called The Black Book of Communism, which is all about the history of communism, how the communist idea came to be, and how it was implemented, and how in the modern era of the 20th century it became the sort of go-to thing, et cetera. And of course, it not only didn't work, but as this book details, it was responsible for the mass deaths, murders of all kinds of innocent people, because there were people out there who just, they thought, oh, this is socialism, isn't it great? And then all sorts of terrible things happened. Surprise, surprise. So, we just have to, there's a generation that's got to learn all over again, and it's a shame, but I think that's reality.
The media in general doesn't seem to have much appetite for this story, and unfortunately, I don't think our universities are much help. So how do we launch this re-education that needs to take place?
Well, and this is something that I think is particularly poignant and sad. Somebody like Charlie Kirk got it, and he was out there doing his deal here and really educating people, et cetera. And that, there's no question in my mind, was exactly why he was taken out by this assassin, which was just horrible. I mean, I'd met Charlie once or twice over the years. He was a very sincere, very smart, very nice guy. The lesson is we all have to go on, no matter who these people are. And that's just a fact of life that we have to, those of us who are left behind, have to regroup and start over and keep going.
The polling seems to be abundantly clear that the American people, the majority of Americans, are in favor of voter ID. Yet the Save America Act seems to be stuck in the Senate in spite of all the pushing that President Trump is doing. What's it going to take for that to make its way through the Senate, or do you think it's a non-issue at this point?
No, I do think it's an issue, and I would hope that there are Republicans out there who make it even more of an issue. I live, as you know, in the middle of Pennsylvania, and I've come up through the Pennsylvania political system, and wow, chapter and verse about all sorts of stories with voter ID and votes being counted and dead people voting, and on goes the list of things. And you really do have to have a grip on the fact that there are, alas, dishonest people out there who are going to run elections the way that they think they should be run, which is to say, to their benefit and not on the up and up. And I just think this is human nature, and you've got to deal with it, and we need to get on with it, and we need to have people on our side who understand that there are folks out there with ill intentions who are going to do various things and try and get things through and make elections end one way or another, not in the most legitimate of fashions.
Well, Jeffrey, we're going to need to take a short break. Can you stand by for another segment?
Absolutely.
For those of you watching, if you happen to have a phone nearby, try logging on to ajnow.com. You can send us an email with your thoughts on these topics. I'll be right back. I've learned as a pastor there's a tremendous difference in a crowd and a community of faith. When people decide to step out of the crowd and invest their time and their resources, they become a part of a community and it changes their lives. Well, I want to give you that invitation. I'm grateful you're a part of the crowd who watch the ministry. I want to ask you to consider becoming a monthly ministry partner. I believe if you'll make that regular commitment to what God is doing through this ministry, it'll bring momentum to your spiritual life, and it will help us reach more people than we've ever reached with the gospel before. Thank you.
Ministry partners are at the heart of everything we do. Through their faithful monthly support, we're able to share biblical truth, encourage believers, and provide resources that help people become more fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. Through radio, television, the internet, books, events, and other resources. Become a ministry partner today at alanjackson.com or call 800-880-5102.
America is turning 250 years old. That's something that should unify us. We have so much to celebrate. There is no place like America. Our freedoms and liberties, they are unmatched in this world. Everything that's good about America, our laws, our opportunities, the prosperity we've enjoyed, well, they've come to us because of our faith. We've created a series of emails celebrating 250 years of our country. Find out how Christianity has played a role in this nation from its founding until now. You'll receive a new email each week throughout the series. Each one is designed to help you see our blessings and our heritage in a new way, how faith has played a powerful role all the way through. It's one way we're celebrating America's 250th. We hope you'll join us. You can sign up now at alanjackson.com/250. We're back now with the contributing editor to the American Spectator, Jeffrey Lord. You recently proposed the question if it's time for a politician's tax. I like that idea. Can you tell us a bit more about what you mean?
Yeah, well, as you know and your audience knows, it seems that not a minute passes before some politician out there somewhere is proposing to accomplish X by raising this, that, or another tax. This is what they do. And it could be something as steep as a personal income tax. It could be a sales tax. Who knows what it is? But the thought finally occurred to me, they keep wanting to raise taxes. So why don't we take them at their word? And if they are going to propose raising taxes, raise taxes on them, not everybody, just them. And we'll see how long this idea lasts.
Well, I like the way you're thinking. Well, this week it's been revealed that Jack Smith obtained text messages from 44 lawmakers in Congress. Yet when he was questioned about that exact topic last year, he denied it. What does that tell us about the actions of Jack Smith during those investigations?
Well, I have long since been convinced with Jack Smith, with others, but certainly with Jack Smith, is that there is an incredible arrogance there. He sees himself as very highfalutin, better than everybody else, and he is going to tell members of Congress what to do. And this is the way the world is going to run. It's going to run according to Jack Smith's rules and regulations, et cetera. Well, nothing could be worse and more dangerous than somebody who was a quote unquote special prosecutor who then runs about jumping into everybody's life and profession, et cetera, and particularly when they're threatening elected members of Congress. Wow, I mean, this is not good at all. My own congressman is Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, and I remember at one point early on, people were going after his cell phone. And I thought, what in the world are you doing? I mean, this is a duly elected United States congressman, and you're trying to find out what he says or doesn't say, or who he talks to or doesn't talk to on his cell phone. I mean, this is just not right at all. But I'm afraid, human nature being what it is, I'm afraid this is something we'll have to cope with as we go down the road, particularly in the world of technology, where it gets all too easy to find out what people are saying and thinking and doing and texting and all of that kind of thing.
Bitter partisanship is the rule of the day in D.C. now. I understand opposing of political parties, but President Reagan was in office. I know he had opposition, but it didn't seem to have the same hatred and weaponization of the justice system and all the things we've seen directed towards President Trump. How do we find a way to work together again?
Yeah, I think that would be very, very good. You know what? One of the problems that we have here, and we talk often enough about Washington, D.C. as the swamp. And certainly I lived there for a very long time. And one of the things that I just came away with, there is sort of there is an inside crowd kind of situation here, where you've got people in Washington who believe they rule the roost, they know better. And that means they know better than members of Congress. And they don't care if somebody is a United States congressman, the United States senator. They could be running something in, the 15th bureaucracy down at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And nobody is there to check them. They're going to try and do what they can to get away with things. And that's just simply not good. And one of the reasons for this is the government is too big. And as President Reagan used to say, government is the problem. And I think he was completely right about that.
Well, Jeffrey, we are celebrating the 250th birthday of the United States. I'm curious, you have watched a lot of political happenings. What's your expectation for the next 250?
Well, I'm not yet 250 years old myself, although some days it may feel that way. Yeah, I think that, you know, we really need to look forward to what we can do and what does the future bring, and all of the you know, and learn from history, look back at history. You know, one of the things that astonishes me as a reader of history is how in the world could Adolf Hitler and the Nazis get such incredible power and commit such incredible damage on the world during the 1930s when people just weren't paying attention. They just, oh yeah, well, it's Germany and it's not really anything that we have to do with, and, you know, let's just move on. And bit by bit by bit, you know, and then they finally wake up when he invades Poland. I think it was September 1st of 1939. And things went downhill from there. But, you know, human beings are human beings, which is to say there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we always have to pay attention here, because if there's somebody that comes along that is not well-intentioned, who really does want to do bad things, we have to deal with it. We have to make sure that something is done, and we don't just let them run rampant. And that's something that I think every generation probably has to learn anew.
Wise counsel. Jeffrey, thank you for your time today. We appreciate the insights you bring.
You bet it. Thank you very much.
In a moment, we'll be back with your emails. I want to give you a personal invitation to join my podcast, Culture and Christianity.
You don't compromise the truth, but you say it where the people know that you care about them.
We're trying to understand how to take our faith outside the walls of the church and live it out in the marketplace.
I just never understood the double standard, because they punished me while my peers were allowed to talk about how devastated they were that Roe versus Wade was overturned.
I brought in some friends, people that are trying to do this on a regular basis.
They're never going to stop me, because the truth is the truth. I'd rather be on God's side than to be a coward.
You know, we've been living in a season of unprecedented deception, propaganda, manipulation.
Our best option was to run. We were timing ourselves. I was trying to think, how can I protect my kids?
Well, I want to be a part of seeing culture and Christianity intersect. I hope you'll join the podcast soon. Thank you for taking the time to send your emails, your thoughts and opinions. We always look forward to them. Al G. from Texas wrote, how and where did the American church get the notion that the Great Commission to go to all the world did not include all places in the public square as well as in our private spaces? A preacher friend of mine used to say, all means all, and that's all means. Well, God bless you and the Bartons for faithfully speaking all God's truth to all our culture. Well, Al, thanks for the encouragement. Honestly, I think there's a fear. I'm certain there's a fear in many pulpits, but there's a fear amongst many of us in many professions to speak the truth or to bring a pro-Jesus viewpoint into the public square. We got to face the fear and overcome it. We'll all get to a better place. Dawn from Washington wrote, hi, Pastor Allen. I've been watching your show since the start. It truly is informative and insightful, but I had to write to give you and your team kudos on your new opening intro. It's awesome. I get the feel of Tennessee. God bless you, Pastor. You're an inspiration to me, Dawn. Well, Charlie Daniels has been an inspiration to a lot of us around here, and we thought sharing a bit of music might make a lot of people smile, so thank you. And then Vicky from Kentucky. Regarding the Iranian people shouting support for the regime, it reminded me of a conversation we had a few years ago with a Christian from Cuba. He shared how he'd started 3 businesses in Cuba, and each time a business became successful, the government would come in and take it over. He also said the government would come into the businesses and tell them how many employees were required to be at the rally for Castro. And they knew it was required to show exuberance for him. It definitely was for the camera. I appreciate you bringing truth and helping us to see areas where we need to pray. Well, there are some of those areas, Vicki, and one of them I think is in response to the Democratic Socialists of America. Their ideas are to dismantle this great republic, not to strengthen it. Let's not encourage them. We need God's help on this one. Folks, God's moving in the earth. Let's go with Him. Thank you for your time. Good night and God bless.